Imagine the darkest night in the middle of the harshest ocean on the planet. Outside the window, a brutal storm rages, but you are in the warmth and luxury of a premium cruise liner. Suddenly, a wall of water the size of a 10-story building rises from the darkness. A strike of colossal force shatters the armored glass of the captain's bridge. Tons of freezing water flood the electronics, and the lights go out. The engines stop. Your ship turns into a helpless toy, drifting uncontrollably parallel to giant waves. In February 2001, an event occurred that forever turned world science upside down and forced the rewriting of oceanography textbooks and shipbuilding rules. This is not a story about a military cruiser or a cargo ship where the crew is prepared for hardships. This is the story of the luxury cruise liner MS Bremen, aboard which wealthy tourists drank champagne, not even suspecting that in a few hours they would come face to face with the most terrifying phenomenon nature has to offer. Today, we will break down every minute of that catastrophe, which almost became one of the most tragic maritime incidents of our time. In early 2001, the German cruise company Hapag-Lloyd was undertaking one of its most prestigious voyages. The ship MS Bremen was performing an expeditionary cruise in the most extreme, yet simultaneously most attractive region of the planet for wealthy tourists, the South Atlantic and the waters of Antarctica. The ship was moving from the coast of South America, the Tierra del Fuego and Ushuaia region, through the South Atlantic, passing near the Falkland Islands. Their goal was the icy expanses of Antarctica. Navigators call this region the furious 50s and screaming 60s latitudes. There are no large continents here to slow down the winds. Therefore, westerly winds accelerate to hurricane speeds, forming the most powerful storms in the world and the endless circumpolar current. There were 137 passengers and about 100 crew members on board. Most of the travelers were wealthy Europeans, mainly Germans, Swiss, and Austrians, among whom were many elderly people, retirees, amateur scientists, and wildlife enthusiasts. MS Bremen was a luxury 4-star ship. This was not mass tourism. Such an Antarctic expedition usually lasted from 14 to 21 days, offering guests a deep immersion into the world of wildlife far from civilization. The cost of tickets for such an almost 3-week cruise in 2001 averaged from $10,000 to $20,000 per seat, which, adjusted for inflation, would equal $17,000 to $35,000 today. People paid these colossal sums for exclusivity, the highest level of service, lectures from scientists on board, and most importantly, the illusion of absolute safety. They trusted German engineering and the experienced crew, believing that nature had been conquered by technology. In late February 2001, MS Bremen was heading on its course in the South Atlantic when the weather began to deteriorate sharply. For this region, storms are a common occurrence. The wind intensified to 9 to 10 on the Beaufort scale, and wave heights reached 10 to 12 meters. The captain and the navigation team were absolutely calm. The ship was specifically designed for such conditions. It had a strong, ice-class hull, modern roll stabilizers, and powerful radars. Passengers were advised to stay in their cabins. The pitching was severe, but the crew controlled the situation, keeping the ship's bow against the waves to softly cut through them and minimize listing. The catastrophe happened instantly, and without any warnings from the instruments. The ship's radars, which scan the water's surface, did not detect an anomaly, because rogue waves do not have a typical cyclical structure. They arise randomly due to the superposition of energy from several waves, nonlinear dynamics. Right in front of the liner's bow, a vertical wall of water rose from the ocean abyss. Its height, according to the experienced crew's estimates, reached about 30 meters. This is the height of a 10-story building. The water crashed down on the ship with incredible speed. The force of the impact from thousands of tons of water was such that it breached the defenses engineers considered invulnerable. The waves struck right at the captain's bridge, the brain of the ship, located at a height of about 15 meters above the waterline. The special multi-layered armored glass, almost 2 centimeters thick, designed for colossal pressure, failed. Several massive bridge windows shattered into pieces at once. Tons of freezing salt water instantly burst into the bridge. The officers stationed there were knocked off their feet by the flow of water and glass shards. The water flooded all the main navigation consoles, engine control panels, communication systems, and radars. Seawater is a perfect conductor of electricity. A massive short circuit occurred. The ship's protection system automatically shut down the main generators to prevent a fire. The liner instantly lost the thrust of both main engines. The lights went out in all cabins, the ventilation turned off, and the pumps stopped. A total, complete blackout ensued. Panic broke out among the passengers in the cabins. In the pitch darkness, to the sounds of howling wind and the clashing of metal, people did not understand what was happening, whether the ship was sinking or if they needed to run to the lifeboats, which in such a storm would mean certain death. What happens to a ship that loses its way in a storm? It is every sailor's worst nightmare. Without the thrust of the propellers, the ship can no longer keep its bow facing the waves. Within a few minutes, the current and wind turned MS Bremen broadside, that is, sideways, parallel to the waves. In this position, the waves crashed directly into the broadside of the ship. The vessel began to roll with a catastrophic amplitude. The ship's tilt, reached 40 degrees and more. Furniture, dishes, unsecured equipment, and the people themselves flew across the cabins and corridors. With a list of around 50 degrees, a ship of this class risks capsizing, turning keel up, and sinking instantly. They drifted in a state of free fall on the waves. The team in the engine room operated as if in a war zone. In the semi-darkness, under emergency lighting, amid terrible rolling, the mechanics tried to isolate the flooded circuits on the bridge and restart the generators. They worked blindly, realizing that each subsequent large wave could be their last. The captain and officers on the ruined bridge, ignoring glass cuts and the freezing wind blowing through the broken windows, tried to establish manual control. This nightmare lasted for 2 long hours. 2 hours of drifting, expecting death. Ultimately, German engineering and the crew's training prevailed. The mechanics managed to bypass the shorted circuits on the bridge, restore power, and start one of the main engines. As soon as thrust returned, the captain used it to turn the ship bow first into the waves. The life of the ship was saved. Although the threat of sinking had passed, MS Bremen was severely crippled. The bridge remained half destroyed. Some of the electronics had burned out forever. Continuing the cruise to Antarctica was impossible. The bridge windows were boarded up with wooden shields and metal sheets to prevent further water ingress. The captain announced the cancellation of the expedition. At low speed, maneuvering carefully, the ship set a return course and successfully reached the port of Buenos Aires, Argentina, for repairs a few days later. Amazingly, not a single person died during this unprecedented incident. 4 crew members suffered varying degrees of injuries from the glass and impacts, and several dozen passengers suffered bruises and contusions from falling during the severe rolling. But the psychological shock left a deep mark on all participants of that journey. Their luxury vacation had turned into a fight for survival. The story of MS Bremen could have remained just a terrifying incident, if not for one striking detail. Literally a week later, in early March 2001, in the exact same region of the South Atlantic, another expeditionary vessel, the British liner Caledonian Star, fell into the exact same situation. It was also hit by a 30-meter wave that knocked out the bridge windows and almost sent the ship to the bottom. 2 identical incidents with reliable cruise ships, documented by captains and confirmed by photographs of ruined bridges within a single week. This destroyed all existing scientific paradigms. Scientists realized that the chance of 2 events occurring in the same water area within 1 week, which were supposed to happen once in 10,000 years, equals 0. This meant only one thing: science was wrong. These catastrophes forced the European Space Agency, ESA, to urgently initiate a massive scientific project called MaxWave. In December 2003, ESA utilized two satellites, ERS-1 and ERS-2, equipped with powerful radars capable of scanning the ocean surface through clouds and darkness. In 3 weeks of continuous operation, the satellites took over 30,000 images of various parts of the world's oceans. In just 3 weeks of observation, the satellites recorded at least 10 rogue waves higher than 25 to 30 meters. The myth turned out to be a harsh reality. Oceanographers discovered that these giants form through complex, nonlinear interactions, such as wave energy focusing, where ordinary waves draw energy from one another, creating a single, short-lived, but deadly giant. Today, thanks to the information gained at the cost of the MS Bremen passengers' lives being put at risk, shipbuilding standards have been radically changed. Modern ships are built with the understanding that 30-meter waves are a reality, and captain's bridge glass is tested for much heavier loads. New radars have been developed capable of warning the crew about anomalies a few minutes before impact.